It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Carla Casper Brown. And 17 or 18 years ago, she lost her daughter. Her daughter, Jennifer Casper Ross, went missing. You can find the Facebook page at Missing, Help Bring Jennifer Raylene Casper Home. Now, it's a long story, but we want to come up with some new, fresh information. And from what I understand, that the cops totally dropped the ball on this, and the actual true story has never come out before. So, Carla Casper Brown, are you there?
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Like I said off the air, I know how difficult this is, so I really appreciate it. Now, before we start into the whole story about Jennifer Casper Ross and your daughter and how she went missing and her ex-husband and the cops and all that, before we get into any of that, tell us about yourself. Who is Carla Casper Brown?
I'm the mother of 4, Jennifer being my oldest and my only daughter. I have 6 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren who none of them I've met. I live in Kentucky. I'm from Idaho, but I'm living in Kentucky now with my sons. All of my sons are here. I had Jennifer when I was very young. I was just 15 when I had Jennifer, so we kind of grew up together in a way. But I'm a widow, and I am my daughter's voice. That's my main purpose in life now, is to be Jennifer's voice.
Yeah, my mom, too. My mom had her first baby at 16 years old and the second one at 18.
I had my second one at 18.
Maybe they're twins. Maybe we're related.
And you learn the struggles of life at an early age.
Oh, yeah. My mom had a rough life in Cuba. Had a very rough early life.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
In Cuba. Ooh.
So before we get into the whole story about the missing part, tell us, what is Jennifer like? Jennifer Casper Ross. What is she like?
She's a animal lover galore. Even black widow spiders. Don't kill them, save them. When I went to her house in Reno, when I first got to Reno, Jennifer had 3 dogs, 2 cats, 2 turtles, a lizard, lots of fish everywhere. But my favorite, I think, were Myrtle and Ertle, the turtles that lived in the bathtub. We would have to take the turtles out of the bathtub to take a bath and dance. Jennifer has always loved dance. She was a professional ballerina when she was 15. And knowledge. Jennifer was always very smart. She loved science from very early young age. She won a contest when she was in first grade for being the only one in the class that knew the smell of a rotten onion. I don't know how she knew, but she knew. Animals, dance, and just she was a little quirky, but and I don't mean that in a bad way, funny, silly. Yeah. She thought she could sing, but she could not carry a tune in the bucket. But she would sing, she loved to learn. She loved people, but dancing, she loved dancing. That would be her most passionate love.
And you said she worked for the American Superstars?
That was the first show she went into, and she wasn't there very long, and then Greg Thompson Productions hired her, and she went to dance at Harris in Reno at Sammy's showroom. She danced there for 10 years.
Okay, so people here, Las Vegas, Reno, Nevada, dancers. Was she a stripper?
No, after she quit dancing, she broke her tailbone when she worked for Greg Thompson. And they had just bought in their house. They just got married. She just started school, and she needed money. Jennifer didn't. She always paid her own way, always. And so she did start stripping after she broke her tailbone.
And that was in Vegas or Reno?
Reno.
Reno. What year did she move to Reno?
She moved to Reno when she went to work for Greg Thompson in 1995.
1995. Gotcha. In fact, I wrote that down before, off the air. And what was her personal life like? What was her marriage like?
Well, her and Sean had, for one thing, when they got married, nobody even knew they got married. They had a very nice wedding up in Tahoe. Jennifer had a beautiful dress on and the whole 9 yards, but they had not one guest at their wedding. And Jennifer's dad lived in Reno at the time, and Sean's parents is there, and his family. But nobody even knew about it. She called me 3 days after they got married and told me they were married.
And this
and
fellow,
I never met him.
The fellow's Sean Ross, her husband.
Yes, that is who she married. They were married 7 years. He did the sound and the lights for the shows that they danced in.
Gotcha. So, so you said you never met him before they got married, but what about? Did you get to meet him after they were married?
Oh yeah, we moved to Reno. I moved to Reno, and we stayed with Jennifer for a while. And he was just. Sean is very pompous, very arrogant, and when Jennifer, they didn't have a typical marriage. They didn't put all their money in the bank and then go pay the bills. Everything was split down the middle. Jennifer paid her own car payments, her own insurance, her own dentist bills. All the household bills were split to the penny down the middle. When we lived there, Sean gave me a fifth. I had to pay 5 parts of the water bill because I had 5 people in my family, not counting Jennifer. Sean did not like the fact that we were there at all, and he made that quite clear. As soon as we got there, he made his displeasure known. He told me that he married Jennifer, not her family. Just little, and he just kept making little rude remarks. He got so bad that we moved out of the house and went and moved into a motel.
Oh, okay, that's pretty bad then. Okay, yeah, that's pretty bad. Now, what about drug use, criminal records, anything like that?
They had some marital disputes. They had started messing around with cocaine.
Okay.
But this wasn't until after the baby was born. And Sean, he didn't want people to know that he's I don't know, for the longest time I thought he was a professional college student because he took classes in everything, photography, agriculture. He was very ambitious. He was a go-getter. He was always on the go. He was a good father. He got to where he just wasn't quite right with Jennifer. Like we'd gone to see, Jennifer knew Lou Rawls personally, and he had come to Reno, and we went to his show. And then afterwards, we stayed and was having drinks with Lou Rawls and his band. When we was going home, we stopped at another little casino in Reno for breakfast, and me and Jennifer went up to the bathroom, and we came back down. Sean was gone. He had left us there. He had took the car and went home. Not no bye, not no nothing, just left.
I guess you guys had to take a cab or something then, right?
We walked.
We had to save up for that water bill, right? That was coming at the end of the month. I said, Jennifer, I'm never going to get out of your house if I have to pay, 5 parts of the house payment, 5 parts of the light bill, the water bill. I said, I'm never going to save money to get out. Yeah, especially if those turtles aren't paying their fair share too. Right? Now, you said that he worked there for the lights and sounds at the club where she was dancing. Was this at a strip club or one of these more?
No, it was at Harris.
Okay, at Harris.
Sammy's
gotcha.
showroom.
Okay,
yes,
so he wasn't.
Sammy's showroom.
Gotcha.
His dad worked there as well.
Okay, now what about domestic violence? Any kind of issues at the home, physical violence?
Actually, Sean pressed domestic violence charges against Jennifer. But one time, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and they were fighting, and they called me and told me to get over there. When I got there, they were up at a little strip mall right in front of their house, and Sean had went up there and tried to take the car from Jennifer. She was intoxicated. And in doing so, he almost ran over a puppy. He pushed Jennifer, but they didn't do nothing to him. I just took my daughter, and we went to her house. It was only a block away. Yeah,
Super Bowl Sunday, very common for domestic violence. Super Bowl Sunday. Now,
Jennifer wasn't happy in her marriage no more.
Right. And was there any discussion about divorce or separation?
They were separated. They had been separated. They hadn't legalized it. Yes, they thought about divorce, and I told my daughter, I said, marriage is a commitment, and you can't just brush it away so easily. I said, just separate. And so they had separated. They'd been separated for over a year, but they still shared the marital home. But they did not share the bedroom. Yeah, Sean moved to the upstairs bedroom.
Yeah, I tried to do that too with my ex-wife. We were separated and trying to stay living in the same house. That doesn't work. Now,
No.
what led up the week of the disappearance? Was everything normal or was it chaotic? What was going on?
It was kind of chaotic. Jennifer had been seeing somebody, and Sean, he was still in the house, like you said, and just they had been fighting. I'm not quite sure why they were fighting that day, but they were arguing that night when he went to work, and when he came home, their argument continued. And Jennifer left. Sean said he tried to stop her, but he didn't. Then when she came back home, well, I don't know how you want me to really answer this question, Ed, because it just gets into the story for me to even know.
Well, when you read these articles about it, it talks about she was coming to see you in a cab and her shoe broke and all this kind of stuff. That's what's out there. Why don't you tell us what really happened? Okay.
And now please know that this has took me years to get all this information and put it together.
Okay.
But the way that I didn't work on that Wednesday night, which when it had been the Thursday morning, May the 5th, when Jennifer was last seen at the cab company. Wednesday nights, you don't have 3 people in the office. And then that Thursday night, I didn't work as well. I didn't go back to work until Friday night. And my shift started at 11 o'clock. And at 11 o'clock, the phone rang. My job was to answer the phone. So I answered the phone. Reno Sparks Cab, this is Carla. How may I help you? And Sean was on the other end of the phone, and he said, his exact words to me was, Jennifer's gone. I think she's dead. She might be in the river. I said, do what? And he repeated himself. I said, what do you mean, gone dead? I said, what in the world are you talking about? And that's when Valerie and Louisa, the other 2 ladies that worked in the office with me, they started saying, Carla, she was here. I said, what do you mean she was here? And my whole world changed. My whole world changed at that moment.
No, I'm sure.
And I told Sean I had to go. I had to figure out what was happening. And Sean avoided me. I had stuff in the garage, and he wanted me to come get it, but he would never be home. He wouldn't let me see the baby. He would tell me to come meet him at the house to get my stuff out, but then he wouldn't be there. I would try to go by, and he avoided me at all possible costs. Of course, at first I didn't feel like he was avoiding me. And the police, they would call me and ask me questions that Sean should answer, because when I tried to talk to them at first, they tell me they couldn't tell me nothing because she was married. And so when they would call me and want information, I started wondering, well, why are they not asking Sean these questions? But when it came to the dentist, they asked me if my daughter had a dentist. And I said, of course she does. I said, she just got her braces off of her teeth. I said, Sean didn't tell you his name? And they said, no. And I said, well, I don't know his name. I said, but he's the rich orthodontist up on the east side of town. I said, Jennifer literally just graduated with balloons and champagne and spent $5,000 on her teeth. But Sean wouldn't tell him that. And then they called me and asked me where her Volvo was. And I said, it's in the shop where Sean put it. I said, where's her van? And they said, oh, that van don't run. I said, that's not true. I said, I've got a picture of Isaac in that van 2 weeks before May the 5th. And they said, no, it had leaves up around the tires. It don't run. And Sean got rid of it. And they did not look for that van for 9 years. And when they found the van, it had already been crushed.
Okay, let's back up a little bit here. He said Wednesday night, 11 p.m., Sean calls you up and says she's dead.
No,
she's in the
Friday night.
Friday night.
Friday night, May the 6th.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, had he called, before he called you, had he called the police?
Yes, he had. I did not know this for several years.
Okay. But
he went to the police, actually, Friday morning at 11 o'clock, 12 hours before he called me and asked me if I had seen or spoken with my daughter. He went and tried to report her missing. They told him it was too early to file the report and to come back. Well, then, moved 12 hours ahead, he called me. That's when he found out she came to the cab company. It took me years as well to figure out where he got all of his information. But Jennifer, when she did get highly intoxicated at the Peppermill. She did call her father collect from the Peppermill payphones. And she told her dad what she had done, that some man had been buying her drinks all night. And he pretty well said, "You're drunk, call me when you sober up, and we'll talk," and hung up on her. Well, he had called the house, I had found out, just last year, in fact. He had called the house and told Sean everything that Jennifer told him, up to the point of him hanging up on her while she was still in the Peppermill. That's when she went out to the front, got in a Reno Sparks cab, took a 3-block cab ride down to the cab company, and came in to see me, but I wasn't working. And that's when she freaked out, went out the side door. Her high heel broke. She took the other shoe off. She left them in the parking lot. She went to the back of the cab company, and the mechanic that was in the garage, seeing Jennifer, jumped the fence. But there was another fence for a trailer park there, and it just brought Jennifer right back out to the front. And at the front of the cab company at that time, there was a payphone, but the police would not check that payphone to see if Jennifer had tried to call Sean, or anybody else for that matter. But she was only 1 mile from home.
Really? 1 mile from her home with Sean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 1 mile from her house. And when she was upset. Her and Sean was fighting. She got intoxicated at the casino. And I cannot believe that they let her get that intoxicated at the Peppermill, because that's not usually their style. But she was, not being belligerent or nothing like that. She was just having drinks with some strange guy, and then she went and called her dad, came to the cab company, and when she left, when I wasn't there, she freaked out, went out the door, jumped the fence, and the only place for Jennifer to have gone would have been to the safety and sanctuary of her own home. She had no shoes on. She was probably disheveled by this time, because she was crying and very upset when she left the cab company. And Nevada, you can't just go in any place with no shoes on. And it was literally, she walks down the street, cuts through the mall, and her house is just right there. And a mile walk is not a walk for somebody who's been a dancer their whole life. Barefoot or not.
Why would she run away from the cab? Just because she couldn't pay? Everyone knew her there, right?
She didn't run away. She didn't run away from the cab. She could have been just coming into the office. Sean made that a big deal to take the focus. He went in and he victim bullied Jennifer. He told him that Jennifer did this all the time. That was the first mistake he made. He said Jennifer ran off all the time and was always out just drinking, drugging, sexing with whomever, wherever. And that was my first question. I said, if she does this all the time, why is this the first time he's reported her missing? And then I said, and then when he did not go back Saturday to file the report, he did not go back until May the 10th to report Jennifer missing.
And how many days was that?
5. He also did not go to work none of them days.
Oh, really?
And he also left my grandson at the babysitter's until Mother's Day, which was Sunday, May the 8th. And Sunday morning, which they never got up early. Jennifer wasn't an early riser, especially when she was working. But Sunday morning, and he told me that this came out of Sean's mouth, him and Isaac left to go to Grass Valley to see his mother on Mother's Day. What he didn't tell me at first was that he had given his mother custody of Isaac. When he left the police station on May the 10th, he stopped by my house to give me the flyers that the police had given him. He gave me all of them. But his mother called him while we were standing there talking. And he was acting, he just was acting like it was no big deal. But his mother called, and he said, yes, I'm going to send you his birth certificate and his shot records. I'll fax them to you as soon as I leave here. So, of course, he knew I was going to want to answer about what he was doing with my grandson, and he said that he was giving his mother custody. I said, why?
Wait. How many days from the time she went missing to the time he gives her custody? 5 days. Okay.
5 days.
And you said he received the call there in front of you, so he had a cell phone?
Yes.
In 1995, he had a cell phone, okay.
Yes. In fact, he made a call to one of Jennifer's friends. She had used to date this guy, and for the longest time, the cops thought that Jennifer had made the call to the young man, but the young man never talked to anybody. Sean had just dialed the number like it was Jennifer calling him.
So Jennifer had a cell phone too?
Yes, but not at that time. They only had the one phone between them.
Gotcha.
I can't remember why. I think Isaac probably put it in the fishbowl. That's what he did with her Invisalign brace that Sean didn't know she wore, apparently, because she didn't know she had a dentist. Although she wore braces the entire time she was pregnant. And now Isaac, they planned that baby down to the month he was going to be born because Jennifer didn't want to miss no school. When she first started, she wanted to be a vet. And she has a younger brother from her dad and his wife now that has autism. And my mother had cancer. So Jennifer changed her major to be a biomedical engineer because she wanted to find a cure for autism and cancer. She had 1 year left to graduate.
So from the time she went missing, the first time you sat down in person with Sean Ross, how long was that?
That never happened. That never happened.
Okay.
That still hasn't happened. I snuck up on him one day, Ed, because he would never answer my phone calls. I was out walking to the cab company to get my paycheck, and their house was just their street was just one street off Virginia Street, which is the main street in Reno. And I said, well, I'm just going to walk down Oakhurst Avenue. And Sean was standing on the porch. He had to open the door. And that was the last time I seen my grandson. That was about 3 weeks after Jennifer's birthday because Sean they had gone out for her birthday, and he'd give me the picture that he took of Jennifer on her birthday. That's the last picture I got of my daughter. And that was the last time I seen my grandson.
Even now that your grandson is an adult, that's the last time you've seen him?
Yes.
How old was the grandson on the night that she went missing? How old was he then?
He was 2 months short of being 3 years old.
3 years old, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So his memories is very vague.
Yeah. But he's never reached out to you or Googled his mother's name and saw all this controversy?
Sean lied to him. Sean first told him, and Isaac put this on Facebook, and I have it screenshotted in my archives. But Isaac he said, you lied to me. He said, for the first 12 years you told me she was dead, and then you told me she ran off with some man. He said, I deserve to know the truth, and so does her mother. And then he also asked him, he said, how can you have no care, no compassion for the mother of your child? But so Isaac's whole life was basically a lie, and I felt very sorry for him. I found him on Facebook, just checking every once in a while. I'd just check. I never stopped looking. I didn't want Sean to go to jail when he was a baby, so I didn't push stuff as hard. But I wanted answers still. But I felt sorry for my grandson when I found him. And actually, everything started changing for Jennifer in 2019. It took me that long to get any kind of attention for my daughter, positive attention, because the Reno police went with this stupid cockamamie story that she got fired from her stripping job and had been fired from several jobs. Jennifer didn't have several jobs. She worked for Greg Thompson for 10 years, and then she worked at the Wild Orchid. And she did get fired a week before she went missing for giving another dancer a Xanax.
Gotcha. And Isaac is the grandson?
Yes, Isaac is her only child. And his name, Jennifer, she surprised everybody when she had Isaac. She didn't tell anybody what she was going to do. But they had his name picked out as Isaac Michael because Sean's middle name is Michael, and Jennifer wanted Isaac. And then when she had him, she named him Isaac Michael Francis Ross. And Francis is my mother's name.
Okay, so but now Isaac, he must be in his 20s now, right?
Yes, Isaac's 21. He's in the. Let me see that. Yeah, 21. He's in the Coast Guard. He divorced his father in 2019. I found Isaac in 2014 on Facebook, and finally, his girlfriend's mother finally talked him into reaching out to me.
Yeah.
And we talked, and it was awkward. It was awkward. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to, just tell him what I felt and how I felt. And I didn't just immediately feel that Sean was guilty. Sean made himself look guilty to me over time. And the more time went, the more guilty Sean Ross looked. Isaac's birthday was in July. July the 8th is Isaac's birthday. And I called him about a week before Isaac's birthday, and I said, so what are we going to do for Isaac's birthday? He said, I'm just going to have a small little get-together with family and a few friends. And I said, I understand. That's totally understandable. I said, where are we doing this at? He said, I'm just having my family. And I knew right then. I knew. And he did his best to hide from me. And I've also got a screenshotted where Sean Ross says, I'm the most toxic person he knows. And I'm the most toxic person to him because I will not go away. And I know what he did.
What is the reason Isaac gives for divorcing his father?
He had found a girlfriend. He was pretty well sheltered. I've had people reach out to me over the years. Sean's never had a serious relationship since Jennifer's been gone. And when Isaac got his girlfriend, Sean was losing control of Isaac. And they got in a big fight. He kicked Isaac out of the house. Jennifer had a dog. She had gotten this dog just before she went missing, and his name was Jennifer Casper. Well, Isaac had the dog his whole life, and when he kicked Isaac out of the house, Sean went and had his dog put down.
Oh.
And that just broke Isaac's heart. So he emancipated himself from Sean, and me and him talked for that whole year. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
My granddog's going nuts.
Do you want to pause for a minute and put him in another room?
Yes.
Okay, let's pause.
I'll put her.
Pause. Just take a second.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it.
It's your dad. Get up. Get up. On the phone. Okay, I'm back, and my son's home, so that won't happen again.
Okay, great. So now, has anybody reached out to Isaac and says, hey, did your father ever confess anything to you? Maybe slipped up one time or anything?
The only time Isaac did anything like that is when he put it on Facebook that he had the right to know, and I had the right to know the truth. And then somehow back when Jennifer was only missing 3 years, I don't know how this happened, but God sent an angel in the form of a lawyer who took $30,000 from Sean for the sale of Jennifer's belongings because he sold everything she had. And she had, like, my mother's cedar chest. She had my antique furniture, stuff like that. And so she had this $30,000. And no matter what I was going to do with it, they said that Sean would get the money back. And I said, that's not a good answer. That can't happen. And so I said, if I just turn around and walk out of here right now, what's going to happen to my daughter's money? And they said, well, it'll just sit here in this courthouse. I said, good enough for me because I can't keep paying lawyers out of it. There'll be nothing left if Jennifer comes home to start up. But also in those papers, it said that Sean, if he sold the marital home, he had to give Jennifer half the money. And the reason that everything fell apart with that, the man who reached out to me, the lawyer, was Egan Walker. And Mr. Walker was a very fine attorney, a very nice man, but he got elected to the judge mastership of the Reno family courts. And so by law, he could no longer speak to me or answer any questions for me. And I couldn't find a lawyer that would look at those papers that I still have that says Sean has to give my daughter half of the money he makes from the sale of the marital home. Jennifer and Sean paid $124,000 for their home. Sean sold it for $298,000 in 2006.
Okay, yeah, so that other half of that money should go to her. Has she been declared legally dead?
No, I have not done that.
Okay.
Nobody else can do that. Nobody. Because I was 15 when I had Jennifer,
right,
and my mother would not let Greg sign the birth certificate. Although she did make us get married 6 weeks later, Jennifer's legal name is not Casper on her birth certificate. Only on her birth certificate. So if Jennifer wanted to run, and I told the cops this too, I said if Jennifer wanted to disappear and go be somebody else, I said all she has to do is go get her legal birth certificate. But there's been no hits on her birth certificate. And no, the Reno Police Department didn't check on that. I did.
Now why do you think it is that the cops have dropped the ball on this?
Oh, I wish they call it victim bullying now. In 2005, we didn't have that name because Sean went in there and told them that she was a drunken, alcoholic, drug addict who slept around with multiple men because they had been separated, She did have one guy she's seen up until right before she went missing, then she starts another guy. But, He just, and she did it all the time. And they told me one day, when I first asked them about Sean, I said, have y'all looked at Sean at all? And they said, how dare you? They said, that man is as much of a victim, if not more of a victim, than your daughter. Your daughter's out partying, having a good time, and she'll come crawling in a few days. I said, excuse the blank out of me. I will have pity on Sean Ross while I'm out looking for my daughter today. They didn't bother to turn my daughter's dental records in for 6 years. And the only reason I found that out is because a friend was going through pictures of does, and they came across one that looked eerily like my daughter. And, of course, I freaked out, and I kept calling this phone number. The man called me back, and he wanted Jennifer's NCIC number. And I said, I don't have a clue what that is. I said, oh, my God. He said, Miss Brown, don't worry. He said, I do this in my spare time. He said, I have a daytime job. I work for the Department of Justice. I'll get that number myself. And so when he pulled up Jennifer's file, he said, why do we not have no dental records for your daughter? And I said, you don't? Because I had already talked to the coroner in California, because that's where the unidentified body was. And they did. They checked it to make sure if it was Jennifer or not, because it looked so much like her. And she said, I've already sent everything back to the Reno Police Department. And so I called them, and I said, you haven't turned Jennifer's records in. I said, will you please send them to this man, Todd Matthews? And he said, I'm not sending anybody anything. I don't have to. So I called Mr. Matthews back, and he said, oh, I just love it when these small-town cops want to be so big. And they let Sean, he sold the van, and they never looked at it. All they would say is, it didn't run. It didn't run.
Well, let me stop you for a second. So there was an unidentified remains that were discovered, but only one set of remains were found?
Oh, no, there's been a couple other hits, but not for the... Well, now that they have dental records, Todd Matthews had them sent to a forensic odontologist in Sacramento,
right.
And they've been done every way they could. And they've also gone back, because I asked Todd, I said, what does this mean in the way that maybe they had found Jennifer and didn't have no records to compare her to? And he said that there was over 350 chances that they had already buried my daughter. But they do take the dental records out of all of them. And so they went back and they compared Jennifer's teeth to every Jane Doe that they buried in that 6 years.
Now, what about Jennifer's girlfriends, friends? Anybody that could shed light on what happened that week?
They all stopped talking to me because they still worked with Sean, knew Sean. We was all supposed to have a sit-down get-together because they had questions, and I said, I don't have a problem. I would love to sit down with all y'all, because they were her friends. Deja was her best friend. And, in fact, when it said that Jennifer had planned on going to Vegas, she had, but not to go live with her dad, not Trent Way. She was going down there for the birth of Deja's child.
Now, what about these? You said she had a couple of other boyfriends. Were they questioned?
Yes, extensively.
Okay, and did you?
I questioned them myself.
I was going to ask you that. Now, what was your interaction with them when you met with them and talked to them?
Well, the one that she dated the longest, I know he had absolutely nothing to do with it. He's the one who bought Jennifer's flowers for me, and he was a huge support. He went and voluntarily talked to the cops. He did sell weed, and they tried to use it at first as a drug thing. And I told him, I said, this is not about drugs. This is about my daughter. This is about a missing person. But they acted like Jennifer was sleazy little gutter waller. Sean didn't tell him that Jennifer was a who's in the colleges and on the national dean's list for 3 years, and summa cum laude she had a 3.9 GPA in physics, biophysics, biochemistry. She also tutored physics. She tutored ballet. She donated her time for the city of Reno. They have an art festival, or they have some kind of festival downtown where they take up money for the starving artist. Jennifer always participated in that. At one time, she did a Dare commercial where she drives around in a little car on the TV commercial for Dare. And she was a good girl. She had a little quirk in her life.
No, the cops are very quick. Yeah, they're very quick to do that, to marginalize people and mischaracterize them in order to just skate away and do less work. Another thing I found, though, in situations like this, when every indication is pointing at a certain person, except for the cops that aren't pointed to that person, that very often what we find out is the person was some kind of a confidential informant, some kind of informant for the cops. Because you said if the other boyfriend was dealing some weed, any indications that the husband could have been some type of police informant?
No, because at the time, Sean Ross was growing weed upstairs. Because he destroyed it, took it down and burned it.
Oh, he was growing weed, too.
He can say, yes. And he's the one who introduced my daughter to cocaine.
Right.
And yes, I know this for a fact, Ed, because I went and got it for him.
Gotcha.
He told me it might improve their sex life. Jennifer was not happy in her marriage. And I haven't yet mentioned, but Sean also failed the lie detector test.
Oh, really?
And, yes, and he was scheduled to go back and take another one. And he just didn't bother to show up. And they just didn't bother to go question him. And now they tell me he's back in Reno, walking around. When Isaac emancipated him, Sean sold everything and bought him a Mercedes van that you could live in.
Right.
And he turned it to his favor again. They called it Man Living 2 Years in Van Life. That made me sick. But that's in the Grass Valley newspaper, and that was done in 2019 when Isaac emancipated himself from him.
Wait, so
but
when they
kissed and made up.
When they did the story,
2019.
When they did the story,
2019.
Right. When they did the story about him living in the van, did they say, poor widowed, lost his wife? No, just
no.
Hey, fun guy living in a van.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That he just blows anything and everything. He doesn't mention Jennifer. Just like when he divorced her, he filed for divorce 3 months after my daughter went missing. You tell me how that's possible. You're supposed to have to jump through hoops and bounds, contact every family member, do your best to find the last known address. How did he divorce her? His divorce was finalized in like 6 months. My daughter don't know she's divorced.
Now, you said that no one showed up to their wedding. None of his family showed up to the wedding either. But they
didn't tell nobody.
No, I know that. But does he come from a prominent family that has some kind of political juice in that town?
No, his dad was a sound and light guy. His mom sold life insurance. They were divorced, separate marriages at the time and stuff. I only met his mother one time, and that was at Isaac's first birthday. And for his birthday, they gave him a life insurance policy. But very different. And Jennifer and Sean's mom didn't like Jennifer.
Right.
Because she didn't like the fact that she took her top off to work. It didn't matter that her husband and her son were up there putting the lights and the sound to the girls dancing. And it wasn't sleazy.
So wait a second. So once again, then, this was at a strip club or was it Harris where he worked?
No, it was at Harris. Jennifer was a showgirl.
Gotcha.
She was the youngest dancer Greg Thompson ever hired. And she worked for him. The last show she did is when they was looking for the new Bob Barker, and they did The Price is Right at Harris. That was the last show Jennifer did for Greg.
Then how about this? If she was friends with Lou Rawls and these producers, did any of them come forward and say, oh, my goodness, this poor woman's missing,
no.
shed attention? Have you contacted them and tried to get them to do it?
Well, Lou Rawls has passed away.
Right.
When Jennifer first went missing, they didn't say anything. It took me 3 years to get them to do a story about my daughter. They wouldn't even put it in the newspaper. Roy Street, the owner of the cab company, he called somebody, and the first story in the paper was like 16 days after Jennifer was gone. Police looking for missing woman, fired ex-stripper, alcoholic, drug.
Yeah.
When I seen that, I went and I said, who's going to care? I said, my God, you make her sound like a piece of trash. Not a student. She had 1 year left to graduate.
Identical situations down here in Florida where this young woman went missing and was in and out of this guy's life, drug house, and they just totally just trashed her in the press. A worthless young girl and with no value whatsoever, who cares?
That's what they did.
Yeah, I know.
And Sean told him that she had a duffel bag full of clothes. That's not true. He changed that. That story, that got added after he found out she was at the cab company. For 5 days, he had to concoct a new story.
I'm still not
and they
clear.
gave him that time.
I'm still not clear what happened at the cab company. She took the She took a cab to come see you at the cab company.
Yes.
And then when you weren't there, she couldn't pay the bill, so she took off running.
Yes, but Roy Street would have never, ever let that go into print over a $3 cab ride. And I paid that cab, and I tipped the driver. So, see, that cab driver was paid as soon. I mean, it's the very next time she came in the office. I paid for my daughter's cab.
Well, then why would she?
Because
yeah, if she was friends with the owner, her mom works there. She probably knew the cab driver, right? Why would she run?
She didn't run. She just got out of the car and walked into the office.
Okay.
She didn't run. She didn't run until she went out. When she found out I wasn't there, that's when she ran out the back door, broke her shoe. And the road boss found the shoes, gave them to me, which I gave to the police.
Now, is that something she would normally do, like something kind of spontaneous like that, like or erratic, like a, you know what I'm talking about? Like the word I'm looking for is something like spontaneous. Would she do something like that? Erratic?
Well, she was in that state of mind. See, Jennifer, she was having problems with her marriage, like
right.
I said. 6 weeks before this, her and Sean had gotten into it, and I seen that my daughter desperately needed help. And so I took a turned-off cell phone, and I called 911, and my daughter went to a little rehab psychiatric hospital there in Reno,
okay.
where she stayed, and she was, they diagnosed her as bipolar. They'd put her on medicine, and she was doing fantastic. She was doing fantastic. And what happened that very last week, Sean?
Well, if she's impaired, you know, from bipolar or whatever, we're going to find her in 15 minutes, you know. Like, so
right.
obviously something, you know
she's not going to go hide.
Right, exactly. You know, find her at the bus station. But the thing is, so you said that she was at the Peppermill. She called her dad, and then her dad called up Sean and says, "Hey, she's down at the Peppermill drunk."
No. He called a couple hours later to see if she made it home safely.
Gotcha. And
of course, Sean told him no.
So then how does that phone call fit in with the time that she ran away from the cab company?
Well, because Sean knew everything that she'd done about the stranger paying for her drinks, about her being highly intoxicated, about her, and that she had been at the Peppermill all night period. What he did not know was that she went out, got in that cab, and came to the cab company. So he didn't know that anybody seen her thereafter. But when he found out, he's the one who told him the cab was never paid, that she ran from not paying it and jumped a fence. That is, see, they got it all out of order.
Yeah.
She simply got out of the cab, walked into the office, and I would have paid the lady right then and there. No problem, because when Jennifer left home, Sean knew she had no money.
Did the police ever question the people at the cab company?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I thought they did. They went down and they questioned somebody 16 days later. But the year before, I called the girl. Because, see, I worked there. They did their first full-blown press release 16 years to the day after Jennifer went missing. And that's because when the world got locked down from the pandemic, Jennifer didn't even have a file, Ed. She didn't have a file ever. Everything was just thrown in a box. Anything they got, any phone calls, any tips, anything. And so when the world got locked down, Ben Rhodes, thank God for Ben Rhodes, took his time and he made my daughter a file. And after he made the file, he read the file. And he thinks he's good for it. But now they tell me they can't pick him up because it's against his constitutional rights. And he's flaunting himself back in Reno. He moved right back up to Reno and living, and they won't. I can't understand why they cannot question him. What happened to Jennifer's constitutional rights? You know, but it took them, after the file was made, and then the sergeant read it, 16 years to the day, they did their first full-blown press release, and that's when they went, and that's when I found out. I called Carolyn, who worked in the cashier's cage, and when she got on the phone, she was crying. And she said, "Carla, I have been waiting 16 years for somebody to come and talk to me." She said, "Nobody's asked me nothing." I said, "Are you serious?" So, no, they spoke to none of the 5 people that actually seen my daughter, not even the cab driver. We found the cab driver then, but she had a few strokes, had dementia, was living in a home, and had no remembrance of what happened 16 years before.
Okay, once again, we're talking about Jennifer Casper Ross. And you can go on the Facebook page. It's called Missing. Help bring Jennifer Raylene Casper home. So if you have any kind of information about this, go to that Facebook page or hit me up at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. Any kind of tips or anything you have there to try and shed some light on this situation here. Now, why would Sean go back to Reno? Does he have family there? Does he have business interests there? He has family there.
Yes. And it still has Jennifer living with him if you do one of those truth finders, people finders.
Oh, yeah?
But and some reason, Sean and his family are the only ones listed as her relatives.
Yeah.
And I've called these people. Her dad finally made that list, but I'm not her mother. It doesn't show, Sean done I don't know how he did it, but he's very intelligent.
With those database searches, right? How that works is, if you go in and you apply for a credit card or an apartment lease or a car loan, all the information on your credit report, the top portion is called the credit header. It has your name, your address, your phone number, social security numbers on there. Sometimes your date of birth is on there. Sometimes even a work phone number is on there. And that information you can sell. You can't buy and sell credit reports, but you can buy and sell credit headers, and that's what those databases use. So if you're telling me that her name is showing up 18 years later, okay, on a database search, and it's not showing up deceased because she's not declared deceased, which I think she should be, that means that someone's possibly putting her name down on credit applications to this day, or could be receiving some kind of benefits under her name to this day.
That's what I've been with. Sean called me one time after Jennifer went missing, and that was 7 years after she went missing, and he told me that he didn't think that the divorce was legal because the state of Nevada wanted him to pay that hospital bill where I put Jennifer in the hospital. And I said, no, Sean, you are divorced from my daughter. And I said, and then I told him I wanted to see Isaac. I was expecting this. Well, of course, that's my firstborn grandchild. That's my connect. That's the only thing I have left of my daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, him and Isaac kissed and made up. They got pregnant, and Isaac went to Reno, and he actually, the poor kid, they went up there in the wintertime, living in a tent on the river because they had no money, but he had to go up and see about his mom's money. And we stayed in touch, and we talked until the day after he turned 18. That's when he got his mom's money, when he turned 18. And Sean had been getting back into their life, and baby was coming, and they even let Sean name the baby. And would you like to know what he named my great-grandson?
Yeah, what?
Jasper. The dog's name was Jasper. My great-grandson's name is Jasper Michael Francis. I'm glad Isaac kept that in there. Ross. And now they live with Sean. Isaac joined the Coast Guard, which his mother would be thrilled with. He's a very handsome man. He looks like a young Casper man. Sean he had to have control, and now he's back in their life. He's named the baby. He came in right after Isaac got that $27,548 that sat in the cash register for 15 years.
Right, that money, yeah. Oh, boy.
And Egan Walker, I would do anything if I could talk to that man, because he's the one who told me. He knew I was poor. He said, I have no problems with you using some of your daughter's money to keep in touch with your grandson. He said, I believe that would be highly important and beneficial. And if you have to use her money, do it. But Sean hid from me. First, he sold the house in 2006, and he went to Portland, Oregon. And then he left Portland, Oregon, went to Austin, Texas. Then he left Austin, Texas, and went to San Diego. And I know what school Isaac went to when he was in third grade. I'm not smart, but I'm not dumb. So I kept tracks that way, but I could never just get him until he got his girlfriend, and Sean didn't want him to have a girlfriend. He was losing control.
we're pretty much out of time. What do you want to leave us with?
What I seriously want to know is why they will not question this man.
Yeah.
I mean, just one time sit down and question him as a suspect. Or name him as a person of interest. He thinks he's just floating scot-free and nobody's going to knock on his door. That's why I'm the toxic person, because I'm not going away. I will not go away until somebody's going to question this man. He's got to be questioned. But even if he don't answer in this lifetime, he will answer before he goes to heaven. That's, not much solace to me. And also, Sean went camping 3 weeks after Jennifer went missing. Him and one of his best friends and Isaac went camping to a national park in California in the end of May. And Ed, you've lived out there. You know about the Rocky Mountains.
Sure.
What's in the Rocky Mountains at the end of May? Snow. Do you take a 3-year-old camping in the end of May in the Rocky Mountains? No. But they went somewhere.
What about this best friend? Have you ever tried to contact him and talk to him?
They want me to find his name, and I can't remember his name.
Okay.
I don't have the access to the computers and all that stuff.
Okay, we've been talking to Carla Casper Brown, who's the mother of Jennifer Casper Ross. She also goes by the name of Jennifer Raylene Casper. The Facebook page is Missing. Help bring Jennifer Raylene Casper home. You can reach out to me. I'll pass along any information you have to Carla. And Carla, thank you for coming on the show. I really hope and pray. Yeah, I hope and pray some information, new information, comes forward here. Something that can help you out.
I did accomplish one thing, Ed, I'd like to share with you.
Sure.
Have you heard of those missing and murdered playing cards?
Yeah. Some people are into that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
Well, I called the administrative offices at the prison and asked the man if he sold them in his prisons, and he said no. And I said, well, would you be willing to? And he said, get me some more information. The cards are being printed this month sometime. Hopefully they'll be here before Jennifer's birthday, and she will be the ace of spades because nothing trumps her, because the cards are distributed in prisons and jails because that's where people get their information.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I've done for Jennifer. And I also got the Reno Police Department a cold case detective. So,
Carla, thank you so much.
I'm trying, but I'm not doing much.
Well, let's one step at a time. Carla, thank you so much, okay? Carla Casper Brown, the daughter, is Jennifer Casper Ross. The Facebook page is Missing. Help Jennifer Raylene Casper home. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night.
I hope this works. Good night.
Me too.